The New Galactic Era, Space Voyages, science fiction novel by Mariia Obydenna. Chapter 10, Shooting Stars on the Planet Earth. After landing at the spaceport in the European part of Earth, Elisa felt the warmth around her. The first thing she saw was tall skyscrapers, green oases, and flying houses, hallmarks of a new smart city, which emerged as a solution to the challenges faced by the inefficient, crowded cities of the robot age. Elisa heard the call. It was Love. "Elisa, I'm so glad to see you. You're going to have an unforgettable journey back in time," he joked. "And now there's plenty of time to relax and enjoy Earth." A delicate yet brilliant scientist, Elisa had risen swiftly through the ranks, conducting groundbreaking research in a remote Jupiter laboratory. Her years of scientific experiments and intergalactic exploration gave her a unique perspective when returning to Earth, making this visit particularly meaningful. Elisa was admiring the spring morning on Earth. Small buds had just appeared on the trees. Everything around smelled of spring. Nature was waking up. Elisa decided to go to the river. Looking at the water, she saw how everything on the other side, bare trees, a small inconspicuous path along the river, huge bright skyscrapers, was reflected in the dark water with exceptional accuracy. Elisa decided not to return to her apartment on the 500th floor of a skyscraper, in which there was no one, except for a real earthly ginger cat, with white whiskers, a fluffy tail, and amber eyes that seemed to catch sunlight themselves. They live only on Earth. Nowhere else in the universe can you see these animals. According to the intergalactic law, they can be bred on Earth. Elisa decided to sit a little longer on the bank of the river, which is waking up after the cold. The barely perceptible flow of the river lulled Elisa into stillness, dissolving her sadness like mist. Looking at the water, Elisa remembered the happy moments of her life and thought about the future. Various thoughts came to her mind. Elisa tried not to drive them away, but to accept them. Elisa was an experienced scientist. Being the wife of a military engineer was difficult, but Elisa was glad that Love loved her. A thin, dark-skinned girl who loved science like he did, understood the complexities of an engineer's life and his inner world like no one else. Elisa had been in a romantic relationship with a military engineer for several years. Living together was not easy. Her Love was constantly away on intergalactic expeditions. They spent little time together. Elisa was at a crossroads. She admired Love, but the career of a military engineer and the life of a scientist were not easy. Elisa wondered how the two of them could coexist when one worked in a laboratory on Jupiter and the other was engaged in constant intergalactic reconnaissance. Unlike the other engineers, Love belonged to the prestigious part of the Jupiter military unit. Sitting on the river's bank, Elisa was lost in thought. Love's new expedition did not please her. After sitting a little longer alone on the bank and enjoying the views of Earth, she slowly went to her temporary accommodation. Love could not come to the central part of the European continent. He was in a remote area of Earth waiting for her. Waking up the next morning, Elisa listened. There was no sound outside the window. It must be very early. There was no light behind the curtains, but Elisa didn't want to sleep. When she wakes up, she likes to stretch. Nature created this mechanism for a reason. Stretching in the morning, after waking up, is an innate reflex. It would be good not to be shy and allow yourself to stretch every few hours after sitting still in the laboratory. When people sleep, their muscles are relaxed. They receive exactly as much blood as they need for a normal, peaceful existence on Earth. Elisa knew that among the many functions performed by skeletal muscles, maintaining a person's posture is important. If it weren't for these muscles, the Earth's gravitational pull could make it difficult for a person to stand and walk. The group of muscles found in the limbs, back, and neck that support our posture and allow us to move against gravity are called anti-gravity muscles. In space, during long intergalactic expeditions where gravity is minimal, muscles are used little, leading to atrophy and changes in structure and properties. Human muscles decrease in volume during interstellar flights. Despite mankind's significant technical achievements and the invention of a gravitational field for interstellar ships, the crew must train to keep their muscles in shape. Gravity on Earth is a natural phenomenon. Gravity is the force by which a planet attracts objects to its center. The force of gravity keeps all planets in orbit around the Sun. Earth's gravity is what keeps people on Earth and makes things fall. Earth's gravity comes from its entire mass. All of its mass exerts a combined gravitational pressure on the entire mass of a human body. This is what gives a person weight. On planets with less mass than Earth, people weigh less than they do here. After lying down for a while, Elisa stretched again. She didn't want to get up. What does stretching do for us? She thought. When we wake up, the muscles have to lift the body, set it in motion, and for this, they need more blood. If you immediately, opening your eyes, bring the body into an upright position, the body will, of course, cope. But the rest of the day, it will struggle with the consequences of this stress and will be overloaded. That's it. Enough, Elisa decided. Morning exercises are over. Elisa got up and slowly went to the kitchen, but there was no one there. Her gaze fell on a ginger cat with white whiskers. He looked at her with hazel eyes and seemed to wink. Elisa really liked this cat, but she couldn't even explain to herself why. She adored him at first sight. Handsome. Elisa had never been to the planet Earth. This was her first trip. She watched as the Earth's sun slowly began to rise. For Elisa, the nature of the planets is a whole science that she has been studying since childhood. The room became warm and bright. Sunlight stimulates the pleasure centers in the brain, and this improves mood. It also has a positive effect on vision, taste, and tactile sensations. Love was born and lived most of his life on Earth. It was on this planet that he received his scientific training and was later transferred to the Jupiter Research Facility. His new task, like Elisa's, was to prepare a team of young scientists to work on Jupiter and Saturn. For 2 Earth years, Elisa had been working with young scientists and preparing them for intergalactic expeditions. Despite the fact that only very gifted children could undergo training, her wards were confident, very fond of science, and motivated to study and train. Elisa was sometimes surprised by how much children want to learn and grow personally. There is an opinion that children are not very inclined to study, but she was lucky. Her students, Elisa considered them precisely her students, were motivated to continue their education. Suddenly, Elisa heard the phone ring. "Glad to hear from you. How are you on Earth? Today is the first day of spring," Elisa heard Love's voice. "Hello! I thought you had forgotten about me." She was overcome with emotion. For all the people in the solar system who have not had the opportunity to see Earth, personal experiences have shaped their understanding of its beauty. It is unique compared to everything else in space. Space may seem like a dark, dead place, but Earth is a wonderful place to live. While Earth is certainly not a paradise, its ability to support life is evidence of the Creator's design. Nature has always had a magical appeal for Elisa. There is something magical about the beauty that surrounds us, something that stirs the human soul and ignites the imagination. From majestic mountains to quiet lakes, from the vibrant colors of sunsets to the delicate petals of flowers, the wonders of nature are endless. "I'll wait for you in the laboratory. Do you like snow?" Love asked. "I don't understand. Why is there snow here?" She breathed. "It is spring season in the central part of the planet, and I decided to invite you to the laboratory in the snowy part." "With pleasure. But where is it?" "In Antarctica. I'll be waiting for you in 2 Earth hours at the research station. It's really winter here. There's so much snow around that you can grab a sled and enjoy winter and winter fun to the fullest. Gore and Val are waiting for you. They have long dreamed of meeting you, and I hope they won't have to wait long." Elisa was delighted. She had wanted to see snow and could not even imagine that this wish would come true. Upon arriving at the laboratory in Antarctica, Elisa saw that the snow had fallen so much that it reached 3 meters deep.
Love introduced her to other scientists, and Gore and Val began to discuss the most important matters. There is a theory of a world with many dimensions, the scientist from Antarctica began to tell slowly. Until now, it was considered only a mathematical abstraction that has no analogues. I can say that the theory of 20 dimensions is confirmed. Elisa looked at him, and it dawned on her mind that he was talking about things important for Love's future experiments. "I heard about it on Jupiter," she replied.
"We never thought it could be real," he emphasized. "The theory was that there were multiple universes lying side by side, perhaps each a moment's distance from the other. The only thing I can see is that some flaw in a cosmic space warp could throw a person from our dimension into another, a nearby one, not far enough away that things would be completely different, so different that the duplication wouldn't be identical. Just imagine, this is Earth, but it's not our Earth. It's an Earth we don't know anything about," explained Val. "In just a couple of months, research was finished," Love replied. "That started a revolution, a large-scale movement that inspired thousands of physicists around the world to stop their unfinished research and pursue the long-awaited dream of a single theory, a single mathematical system capable of describing the entire known universe. It is the only one of the 4 fundamental forces of nature described by general relativity, and the only one that quantum theory cannot account for. Developing a model that unifies all 4 forces into a single model has been a long-held dream of theoretical physicists. It is the only one of the 4 fundamental forces of nature described by general relativity, and the only one that quantum theory cannot account for. Developing a model that unifies all 4 forces into a single model has been a long-held dream of theoretical physicists. The theory says," Gore explained, "we can make this dream a reality. Simply put, it does so by rethinking what reality is made of. Instead of viewing subatomic particles as the fundamental dark matter of matter, string theory says that everything is made of incredibly tiny strings whose vibrations produce effects that we interpret as atoms and other particles." "Yes, I haven't heard anything about research in this direction for a long time," Elisa said. "Instead of living in a universe with 3 dimensions of space and 1 of time, we live in a universe with 10 or 20 dimensions of space," continued Val. "Then, these dimensions are rolled up so tightly that we don't notice them, much like the way a silk thread appears one-dimensional until you get close enough to notice its width. Each compression of space creates a distinct space-time, which means that the theory we have validated can realistically predict a multiverse comprising different universes. They say that if a theory makes so many different contradictory predictions, then any set of observations can be used to confirm it. In other words, this makes the theory impossible to falsify and therefore should disqualify previous research. And the moment has come to sum up. Does the theory of different dimensions reveal the universal laws of reality? Or, as some claim, is it a mathematical mirage?" Gore laughed. "Unphysication has become a popular phenomenon in the world of biocrits, but the development of science has been at the heart of modern physics for centuries. Scientists have united heaven and earth by discovering that the same laws that govern the motion of galaxies describe the trajectory of a spinning wheel and a rolling stone. Earth scientists have linked space and time, showing that motion in one affects motion in the other, a hallmark of his special theory of relativity. Over the past decade, our laboratory has expanded on these ideas through its general theory, providing the most precise description of gravity, the force that drives stars and galaxies. With these advances, we have predicted that a synthesis of all the forces of nature will be soon available. I began studying the mathematical foundations of intergalactic flight theory during a stressful period in my life. I wasn't alone. My colleague Val and the experienced faculty were excited by the theory's potential to become what some have called the theory of everything in the universe. Elisa, the theory still needs a lot of research to be accepted by the scientific community. We've come a long way, but it's not over yet."
Thanks for the detailed description of the research, but now it's time to move on to future scientists. What do you think of AR? The boy is good, smart, but he lacks training. He loves science very much. I think he will be ready to train in a month or two, and everything will be fine. I would advise you to take him to Jupiter. His parents agreed to continue his studies in your laboratory.
What about Tina? Is she well-trained? Tina has been assigned to a group working on Venus. She wants to live in a biocrit colony. Science is not her life. Well, I wish her luck, Elisa replied. You're the bride of a military engineer, Gore smiled. We have 5 more guys with good scientific training. I advise you to take them to Jupiter. Okay, let everything be as you decide. I completely trust your choice, Elisa replied. Elisa felt better. Her spirits lifted. Let everything be as it will be. She could not change anything in her life. The only thing left was to go with the flow of life. Unlike other fields, science remained an activity that required natural abilities, perseverance, and a desire to work. Elisa, a girl from a traditional family, chose a scientific career she enjoyed, which provided her with opportunities for self-development. As for love, Elisa decided not to be upset. If it is impossible to live together, let it be so. Returning to her home box in Antarctica, Elisa was again greeted by the Earth cat. It purred. Elisa smiled back and stroked its fluffy coat. Elisa went for a walk to the shore of the Southern Ocean to see real ice. If we open our eyes and hearts to the beauty and wonder of Earth, to celebrate the wonder of life, we would also feel the horror of the destruction of our civilization. Love suddenly appeared. He seemed to have read her thoughts. The medieval legend stated that the ancestors of mankind, Adam and Eve, saw the stars that shaped the constellation of the Southern Cross, which could be seen in the Southern Hemisphere. There are constellations by which you can determine the direction to the South Pole. This is the Southern Cross and the constellation Centaurus, Alpha and Beta Centaurus. By the way, the Southern Cross is a small but perhaps the most famous constellation in the world with a great number of bright stars. What happened to Adam and Eve, do you remember? Asked Elisa. According to the Bible, God said, "Let us make man in our image after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heavens, and over the livestock, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth." The Holy Scriptures further say, "So God created man in his own image. In the image of God he created him, male and female he created them, at the end of the 6th day of creation, and they were given dominion over all the earth and all living creatures." In the Garden of Eden, there were 2 special trees, the tree of life and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. God allowed Adam to eat from every tree in the garden, and only the fruit from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil was forbidden to be eaten, warning that the consequence of disobedience would be death. The serpent, the image of Satan, who was more cunning than all the wild animals, used tricks and cunning to persuade Eve to taste the fruit of the forbidden tree of the knowledge of good and evil. The serpent convinced her that she would not die. "You will be like gods, knowing good and evil." Finally, the woman succumbed to the serpent's persuasion, violating the will of God, after which she gave the fruit to Adam to taste. As a result, Adam and Eve learned good and evil, realized their nakedness, and hid from God. The fall consisted in man's desire to appropriate for himself the divine right to decide what was good and evil. "Thank you, love." Silence. After a moment, Elisa asked, "Love, tell me about the terrible tragedy that happened in the Southern Cross constellation and the event horizon." This story was not in the information database of the solar system data stores, but General Gart told me I could trust it and that I should believe and beware of places in the universe like...
Love didn't finish. After a long silence, he began his story again. One of the intergalactic ships was near Acrux, the polar star of the southern hemisphere in the robot age. Suddenly, a white light appeared on the monitors. It was all around. Space began to change. The ship's monitors showed that a nearby black hole was expanding. The crew of the starship realized that a distortion of time and space had begun. The horror that the crew felt was impossible to describe. Disorders of consciousness and delusions often occur when space and time are distorted. The main thing is to act instantly and not lose control of the situation until your last breath. "And what happened next?" asked Elisa. "The last message from the ship's crew. We are going mad. We have known good and evil, and God spoke to us." There was no further mention of this expedition. Even in the secret archives, not a single fact about this expedition has been found. "Love," Elisa replied. "I love these ancient legends because they have a certain meaning. Sometimes I even wonder how people who couldn't even fly to the moon and dreamed of landing on Mars were able to tell legends and describe distant galaxies." Maybe the expedition team tasted the forbidden fruit, but these are our assumptions. What happened then is unknown for sure, Love said sadly. Love had to return to work. Elisa decided to spend a little more time alone on the ocean shore. Visiting Earth, people from other planet settlements are transported to the very heart of nature and immerse themselves in the world of their ancestors. The smells and aromas of nature evoked powerful positive emotions, transporting people to another time and place. Just imagine the intoxicating aroma of a blooming rose, the earthy smells of a forest after rain, or the salty taste of an ocean breeze. The beauty of nature is a source of endless inspiration. On the ocean shore, Elisa saw a meteor shower. Ancient people called this phenomenon shooting stars. Shooting stars have fascinated humanity since immemorial, inspiring numerous stories, beliefs, and scientific discoveries. These celestial phenomena result from tiny particles entering Earth's atmosphere and burning up due to friction with air molecules. Breaking up into a streak of light, the shooting stars create a mesmerizing spectacle that can last from a second to several seconds, depending on their size and speed. Witnessing a shooting star is a rare and magical experience that reminds us of the vastness and mystery of the universe. From ancient myths to modern astronomy, star showers capture the human imagination and arouse curiosity about the universe. Since ancient times, shooting stars have been associated with auspicious events, omens, and divine messages. Many cultures believed that shooting stars were manifestations of gods or spirits, and that their appearance could foreshadow future events. Even today, many people make a wish upon seeing a shooting star, hoping it will come true.
Elisa closed her eyes and wished with all she had left. Life goes on. Modern technological innovations, which cause many to become distracted and alienated from human relationships, prevent them from feeling alive and from enjoying Earth. Our ancestors often assumed that new and improved progress would result from experienced minds and developing technologies. But the data shows that our civilization is already consuming more than the Earth's renewable resources can sustain. Earth, a fragile island home, is being robbed of life because people have failed to recognize it as a gift and appreciate its significance. Suddenly, Lutic called and asked Elisa to return to the laboratory. Elisa was surprised, but in a few minutes she was there. Arriving at the scientific facility and entering the hall, Elisa did not immediately understand what was happening. Probably the scientists decided to arrange Lutic's last day and celebrate the completion of the project, she thought. Science is a big family that unites people. There were many flowers in the large room. Elisa was happy. She had never seen anything like it. Suddenly, Lutic's colleagues and students entered the room. The silence lasted for several seconds. Surrounded by Lutic's colleagues, Elisa did not know what to do. The glass door opened, and Lutic entered with a bouquet of red earth flowers, which Elisa had also seen for the first time in her life. Approaching her, he kissed Elisa and opened a small box containing a ring with a heart-shaped stone. "Elisa, do you agree to become my wife and be with me for the rest of your life?" Everyone held their breath. Elisa was so confused and surprised that she didn't know what to say. She seemed to lose the ability to speak for a few seconds. After overcoming her state of shock, she replied, "Yes, I agree to become your wife." Ludic put an incredibly beautiful ring on Elisa's finger, symbolizing the eternity of the universe. The circle has no beginning or end. It reflects the shape of the sun and the moon, worshipped by ancient earthlings. The open space in the middle of the ring represents a gateway to the unknown. According to a very old earthly tradition, the description of which has been preserved in the data repositories of Earth, our great-grandfathers declared their feelings and gave a wedding ring to their beloved with the words, "I swear to love you in sorrow and in joy, in wealth and in poverty, in pain and in health, until death do us part."